I would read books because either my father has bought a book and he thinks that everybody should read it, or he has put for me, something and says that maybe we should be able to read this in a week's time and all that stuff. So I would read just for fun initially. And then as I grew up and I got to know more about studying, of course, I went to school and things like that. When I went to school, I used to study just to make the marks. You know, the way we all have pressure. When immediately you take a course, there's a lot of pressure to begin to do something so that you can prove a point. You need to prove a point to your parents that you can succeed. You need to prove a point to yourself that you're brilliant. There's just, we kept doing that just to prove a point. And a few years ago, I asked myself, why do I really study? And that is actually, I think, the discourse we are on. So the question I asked at the beginning was, how many books have you been able to read conclusively and actually learn something from them? That was for your own, for your own time to look through. The first question we asked at the beginning was whether you have studied and how many schools and places you have been to in the name of you went to study. That was the first thing, if it is an institution. So the first question is, how much studying have you done? The second question is, how many books have you conclusively read? Yeah. Question 1 and 2. How much of study have you been exposed to? And the second question is, how many books have you read? Yeah. Now, moving forward, I want to actually say at this point, I can see somebody saying that I need to repeat, so I'll repeat again. The first reflective question is, how many attempts at study have you made? How many schools have you been to? How many books? Yes, not books. The first question is, how many attempts at study have you made? How many schools or institutions have you been to in the name of study? The second question is, how many books have you been able to read conclusively? It doesn't matter the subject, just how many books have you been able to read conclusively? And the third and final question, reflective question at this point is, what are you currently reading? What are you currently reading? Are you reading a book? And I'm talking about something that you're reading, just like we've been told, something you're actually walking through or interacting with. What are you currently reading? And please answer those 3 questions later or now and be very sincere with yourself. I want to move on to a few more definitions, and then I will stop for a few engagements. If you want to say something in respect to, if you want to say something in respect to this topic, you can raise your hand and I'll see it, because like we agreed, we are engaging. There's nobody really who knows the whole thing, everything. We all learn from each other. Now, your dictionary.com, I'd like to share what your dictionary.com defines study as. Dictionary.com says that study is both a noun and a verb. So for the noun, it says that study is the act of learning, and I love that, spending time discovering information. Study is the act of learning, spending time discovering information. When was the last time you read something and made a discovery and actually got very excited about it? Yeah? If study is actually the act of learning and spending time discovering information, when was the last time you did that? Yeah? And the verb is study is spending time investigating a subject. Spending time investigating a subject. Let me say this. One of the things that makes study very interesting for me is the investigative aspect. And you know, when you're investigating something, you're not doing it because you know. You're actually open. You want to find out what is this about? What more can I know or learn about this particular thing? And I am sorry for the statement I am just about to make, but one of the reasons why we are having this conversation is to change some of this discourse. I think you know the statement, which I believe many Africans are working around to, to just make it not count, is, that saying that says if you want to hide something from an African, you put it in a book. Now, I know that there's a lot of us who are in this continent of Africa and we are working around the clock to make sure that we are actually studying. But the main question is, when was the last time you did a study on something, or you went through something, or you learned something, and you actually discovered, made a discovery about that thing, and actually got involved in either making other people know, or actually just even applying it in your own personal life. Now, my rapporteur, Madam Esther, I don't know whether there's anybody who wants to say something at this juncture so that we avoid having a monotone. Esther?
I hear you. Pamela, that was awesome. I didn't realize that you could actually look at the subject of study in such a way. Good thing is that I read a lot, so I think I have passed some of your questions in terms of the schools that I have attended. They are very many, including Life Academy. There is also another school that I have been to that is called Parenting University, which did not give me any manuals. I've had to learn on my own. And final school of how to be a good wife, which is a journey that we all have to take, and a school that we have to study for a long time. But that is beside what it is that you're saying. Formally, we've all gone through school. So I'm looking for hands to go up. If you want to say something, please put your hand up or unmute yourself and say something.
Some of my professors are in the house, so I will, if they don't volunteer, I may have to volunteer them.
Yes, please do that. Call somebody up if you know someone has something of importance to offer us. Please just call them.
Excellent. I think just before I call out a few of some of the people who I know have been teachers for many years, I think the main reason why we are having this conversation about why study is because we want to ensure that people understand exactly what study is about and that people are doing it the right way. And most importantly, that our young people are stirred up to study. Because one of the things that is the most transformative thing in the life of a young person is when a young person is excited about discovering something and they're actually driven to go and discover it. And once they discover that thing, they do something with that information that is either going to change their lives, the lives of their loved ones, or even the lives of a community around them. And so that's really the essence and the reason why we are having this and why we will have this conversation, subsequently for as long as we are able to. Now, the comments that I'm inviting need to be around the three questions that we asked ourselves. And the three questions were, how many attempts at study have I made as a person? And though after making those attempts, is there any one of them that completely transformed me? And then finally is, what am I currently reading that is transforming me? So that's the line of conversation that I'd like us to have. Yeah, anybody wants to talk about that? I am looking at the people I know have something to say in that light. Edna, would you like to say something in that regard? Edna, are you here?
Yes, I am. Hi, Pamela.
Hi. Hi.
Nice to see you. You're looking beautiful as usual.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody else. My name is Edna Semiti. I actually do work with young people. I do develop them to inspire them, like Pamela said, to identify the career that they would love to love in their future. That's my passion. So by way of background, I am IHR professional for the last 16 years. And I met Pamela when we were young girls at Daystar University. At that time, I was pursuing my communication studies and my minor in community development. So that's just me. And thanks so much, Pamela, for the discussion on why study. I was actually asking myself, is this for high school students? Is this for university students? But now I understand where you're coming from and I appreciate it. And I really agree with you. I like the definitions. They have stirred me up. And I was just thinking about my students right now as you are giving our definitions of what study is. So in terms of the books that have inspired me, you'll not believe for the longest time, the book that has inspired me is the book by Dr. Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I've read that book the way I read the Bible. I'm also a Christian. And I tear it apart the same way. I get inspiration from words, the same way scripture in the Bible does. And every time uh, I get I get new meaning in what it means to be an effective person. Right now in the COVID-19 crisis, I have understood the value of that last habit, the 7th habit of sharpening your soul. Because that's in that habit, Stephen says that look after your mind, look after your body. And I have seen the value of that. And there's so many other resources that support that. And as a way of inspiring young people, I put them through a program of studying that book and reviewing how they can develop those habits in their daily lives. So that's how I have done it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. That's good because you're basically sharing your personal experience. Because surprising to all of us, even what we are having right now is actually an opportunity to learn from each other. So I appreciate what you shared. That's really nice. And I think I'm also interested in just really, even as you work with the young people, I've noticed that our current education system is quite teacher-centered, as opposed to student-centered. And really encouraging you that as you work with these young people, encouraging them to really pursue, to study the things that they're passionate about, along with their, education system and all that. Because I've realized that when you look at the current education system we have in Kenya today, well, I know that now we are making efforts to change. And the question is, how far has it gone for us? And how effective is even this other one that we're introducing? Really encouraging young people to go beyond the classroom. To take time to study. One of the things that I've done in the last 2 years is introducing Bible clubs, making sure that all my children are in a Bible club, making sure that all my friends are in a group that has a Bible club. Because if we do not stir one another towards reading and studying, then we'll realize one day we have 50 certificates. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Any other comments?
Nabutola, you have your hand up.
Excellent.
Nabutola, if you could unmute your mic, kindly.
Okay, I've tried again. Hi, Pamela Rita. Hi, team. How are we doing? Again, is it muted? No, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
So I've forfeited my lunch. so that I can attend this one because it's very exciting. And one of the things that concerns me, particularly with the younger people, is that studying has become like it's drudgery. You know, it's not fun for many of our children. It doesn't come. So I really like the fact that you are a hybrid, Pamela Rita, of two teachers. So naturally you could read and study and so on. How can we make it enjoyable? Also, in some households, if a child is reading a novel, they don't consider that studying. I mean, you know, go in my own home, they'll say, leave that book, go and study. You know, it's like, so it's a bit of, I think, a mindset that we need to work on. That, and I liked what Rachel said, that you study, read any book you can, and get the knowledge or the ideas there, because many books have different kinds of knowledge. So really, you're right on the money, Pamela Rita. We need to hear this, and especially the younger people. We need this. We need studying it has to be fun, but also it has to be useful and beneficial. It's a value chain. Thank you very much. I'm here. Lunch is forgiven. Thank you.
Esther, are we good? I think we continue. I'll
Yes,
share.
continue.
Okay. 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 All right. Now we talked about the 3 questions. I hope we all have them. The first question was, how many attempts at study have you made? And I mean, that's a general question from when you could be able to talk or communicate to anybody. It's interesting to just go down, in your personal time and just write them down and just really go through and find out. So I was in this institution for 5 years. Is there really something I took away with me? And then the second question was, how many books have you read conclusively, and what are you reading now? That is what we asked in the first session. So I think I want to talk briefly about, it's interesting. There's something I had prepared on what to say, but I just feel inclined towards moving towards what people have commented about and what people are writing on the side chat, and those who are chatting me directly, so that we really take away something out of this 1 hour. So I wanted to get a little bit more into the study and to the education, but I just feel led to go a different direction, so I hope that's fine. And the direction I'm taking right now is, let us begin to talk to ourselves and find out. So, so I have studied or I have done things in a particular way all this while, up to this far. What am I going to do different moving on from today? And that is actually going to be able to help us answer the why study hashtag and the question. Now, there are many of you who are in this conversation, and young people in your lives. Either they're your children, or they're your nieces and nephews, or they're your, people that you're taking care of, or they could even be your very own students or even clients, whichever way you reach out to them. And by this, I mean people who are between 12 and 35 years of age. That's, I think, there's a lot of conversation about where youth begins. We have 12, we have 14, we have 16, we have 18, the constitution of this country. So for me, I just have a feeling that there's something that happens between 12 and 18. Those are young people who may look like they're really babies, but they're not. They're teenagers. And those are the people who, if they pick up reading at their age, then they're really able to take it very far. So the other thing I want us to think about a little bit more deeply is, how have you inspired the young people in your space to read more, and to read more effectively, and to be more deliberate about reading? I really would like to send out this challenge, because there's a lot of things that we can sit here and look through. There's a lot of material we can go through, but I'm more interested in how that we understand what study is and that we get involved in making it work, you know? So I'm going to just encourage us. If you have a young person in your vicinity, somewhere you can reach out to them, kindly encourage them to just read about something. This COVID season, we have people who are home the whole time, you know. There are people who are home a whole day. Some are not even doing online learning. Some have lost jobs and things like that. What is it we can do to make the most of this season so that people can be able to begin to learn things, even though it looks hopeless or helpless? What can we do to help people focus on the study? And I really want to appreciate the about, I think we're about 20 now, about 23 of us. You can imagine if each and every person who is logged in right now decides that from today henceforth, I am going to stir people towards study. I'm going to begin to do it myself, and I'm going to begin to stir other people towards it. Let me mention something that may sound a little bit cliche, but is very important to me, and ideally should be important to all of us. Each and every one of us is down here for a purpose. There's something that you're in the business of. There's something that God originally intended for you to sort out, or to bring a solution, or to be a blessing in a particular area. My question to you is, have you ever read anything in that area? And I like what Nabutola said, and I also like what Edna said, that study does not necessarily have to be you're enrolled in a course and you're doing a degree or a master's or a PhD. Study can actually be deliberate. It's something that you can do, on your own. And I know some of you have observed that some of the people who have brought solutions to the world are people who may not have, completed their college education, even though that is important. But what do? They put their strength and their passion into pursuing study in that area. And they came out with a solution. They brought us something. And today, they're not, wealthy because they were looking for the money. No, they studied and interacted with information, found a solution, and the money followed them. So, our take home, one of the take home is currently, what are you studying? Is there something you're reading? Is there something you're focusing on? And how can you make it enjoyable? I can see someone in the site chat say it's very important to ensure that whatever you do is something that you enjoy. Ensure that what you're reading is enjoyable. Let me share something. I don't know whether it will be relevant, but I think I've been a student all my life. I'm a student of different things. And currently I'm studying public theology. And one of the things that has surprised me is that because of the attitude that has been generated and created within me, especially by my parents, I really give credit to my parents and especially my dad for that. Because of that positive attitude, I have discovered that one of the most enjoyable time for me is when I'm reading for my exam. Because for me, at the back of my mind, I'm not reading per se so that I can remember everything and I can impress a lecturer. I'm reading because I ask myself, so what was this course all about? Why were we here for 3 months? What were we doing? So for me, I'm reading sort of in a conclusive way, wanting to come to the end of this, and I'm asking myself, what are we supposed to learn here? What is this really about? And I find that the exam period is my most exciting time because I am reading conclusively or exclusively, and then I'm excited to see what was in the lecturer's mind in terms of setting this exam and what really is it that I'm able to do or what it was really bringing out. So I'm actually not involved in the mundane of the reading day to day so that I can pass an exam, but I'm curious to learn more and understand what was the concept behind this. And back to what I've just said, I hope that each and every one of us is actually pushing themselves to study. I will share a challenge. We may not all be at the same level, but the challenge I have for each and every one of us, make sure you read a book at least once. What do I say? Is once a year is too long, but we are all at different levels. At least make sure you read a book and finish one book in a year. Some of us can read one book biannually. Others can read one book quarterly. And there are those who can read a book every month. Actually, we have a club with some friends of mine, and we read a book each one book per month. And that book is actually in relation to it's not just reading anyhow, you know. Somebody wants to say something? So I was saying that book, the reading of the book is not just reading anyhow. You can read in a structured way. You can ask yourself, like I like what Esther said. Esther said that she is in the school of life. She also said she's in the school of parenting, and she also said she's in the school of marriage. And she was telling us, I don't know whether people understood exactly how she intended it to be, you know, on a light note. But some of the things that she raised are pertinent, and I don't want to spend too much time, you know, just talking about exactly what we need to read about. And I don't want to put too much pressure, but I just want to throw a spanner in the works and ask us. Some of us have been children for life. I mean, I've been my mother's daughter for the longest, or my dad's daughter for the longest. I don't know whether we ever read a book about being, I don't know, children. Some of us have been wives for years. We haven't read a single book on being a wife. Now we are parenting, some of us. Some of us are hoping to parent. I see you, Jeruto. You want to get married. Have you ever read a book on marriage, or I don't know what kind of preparation needs to happen in your life, even as you seek to get a life partner? So my encouragement is that let us approach life with excitement and with the agility that it requires, and let's also aspire and just purpose to read about stuff. And you learn so much when you read. Another beautiful thing about reading is that you're deliberate, you're knowledgeable, and you're deliberate. Somebody said that if you read a book once, I think if you read a book biannually, in 7 years, you'll be an expert in that area. So I think I want to just listen to a few more reactions, and then we can see how to go from there. Somebody's saying that she found it helpful when she was reading in Marriage and Purpose. Yes, Rose Guibo. You want to say something,
Hi.
Rose? Hi.
Hi. You know, I don't know why I thought it was starting at 2.
Don't worry, you're not late. Just, do you have a comment?
Oh,
I am sorry, you probably have missed so many wonderful things that read.
yeah. I'm sure I have. I'm so sorry. Oh, I feel so bad.
That's okay. I have done some of the recording, so we shall be sharing with you after this session. So you really have
Okay.
Okay. Esther, how are we doing on time?
We have 8 minutes to go.
Okay.
And I would like to perhaps see, I want to challenge somebody. I know in here I have some of the young people that we have mentored, and I have seen them grow. And I will make a big apology because I'm just about to call you up to say something, because you must have picked something from Pamela today. Audrey, I know you are a writer, you love reading. Could you tell us something about you and how important this subject of why study is critical for you, especially as an online writer? I'm sure, Audrey, you're listening to me. If you could unmute your mic.
Yes, yes. Good afternoon.
Afternoon to you.
Thank you. It's good to be here. The topic of study is important to me because as a writer, it's important to have a broad base of knowledge and information, and even seeing how other writers put out their work, express themselves, and how they develop characters and things like that. So I do read a lot, both informative things, fiction, and just some to just enjoy. There are those that can fall under the category of study, but there are others you just want to get lost in the book and consume the goodness that is there. For the ones that I read for purposes of studying, I find I take longer because I want to be able to implement whatever it is I am learning instead of just rushing through a book for the sake of it. And I have learned from what Madam Pamela has been sharing and what the others have also shared. So for me, I love reading. It's not a big struggle, but I really wanted to be on here to get anything that I might not know about studying. Thank you.
Okay, Esther?
Very much.
I
Pamela,
have a
something?
Yeah, I have a request. There's one of my professors who is on here. His name is Reverend Nathan Chiroma. I'd like him to give a comment because when you look at the chat, he said something that I think is very important, something that I'm also trying to learn. He said that we need to allow young people to learn and study creatively, especially using the gadgets. You know, we are in the 21st century. So, Dr. Nathan, are you there? Would you just like to give a brief comment, especially on how, just building a little bit on what you said, especially in terms of how we can make it interesting for the young people to study and how we can encourage them to use the gadget?
Well, thank you so much, Pamela, for the really very informative session. I'm truly grateful. I'm blessed to be here. And just the reason why I wrote that, you just ask us challenges to encourage young people to engage in reading, not just reading, but we're talking about, learning. So my encouragement is we complain about young people spending time on their gadgets. We think, they spend most of their time using the gadgets. So, but you can find a way of creatively helping them using the same gadgets to read. But part of it is for young people, like Albert Bandura has told us, is that young people, the highest way they learn is by modeling. So if we can model for them, the importance of reading, learning, and them seeing it also how we apply it into our lives, I think that's one of the best ways that we can encourage studying, reading, learning among young people. So my encouragement is like sometimes with my teenage kids, we can do a reading competition with them. So that's kind of a thing that spurs them up to be able to say, okay, if my dad is competing with me in terms of reading and studying, why can't I do it? So all I'm saying is this is very, very helpful, but we can't use our own old system of reading and studying to think that it's going to work for these young people who are tech service. So how do we take advantage of their knowledge of tech, being tech service to encourage them to read? Thank you for this privilege and thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Chiroma. I think that's profound, Esther. I've realized that there's just something about this generation and gadgets that we cannot deny. And I've also realized that many of us who are mentors are mentoring these young people in the 21st century through things we may not have gone through ourselves. So one of the things that is a challenge to the Mentors Parlour, I think I've seen Mokuhe is on, I've seen Nabutola is here. I don't know whether the others were able to join in. What I've realized is that we have to actually also be open to learning so that as we engage them and mentor them into study or reading, that we are also doing the same. So I think that's really a challenge to us, Esther, and to everybody who is here, Edna, and everybody who is directly engaged with the young people. And one of the last things I'd like to say that you said that really caught my attention is young people learn through modeling. So what we are saying is that if we want to grow a reading generation, we must read as well. Like you had Dr. Shiroma said, he has reading competitions in his house with his young children, with his young adults. And that's really the way to go. And I've also observed that one of the ways that, actually, let me just share this as an encouragement, is that for a very long time, I kept telling my children to read this, read that, read the other. I would buy storybooks for them. And, we kept talking about how they need to read. And one day we just decided that we were going to have reading weekends where the TV is off and all we do is just read a book that you like to do. And I noted one day I actually walked into the house. It was a Saturday afternoon and it was all quiet and I thought everybody was asleep and everybody had a book. And I realized they did not read because I said that they should read. They read because they saw me beginning to do the same. So I think that aspect of modeling is very, very profound. And also another challenge is whatever it is we encourage others to do, let's begin at home. If we do it at home and it works at home, it will definitely be able to work in the neighborhood, in the estate, in the church, and just in the circles that are around us. Esther?
I love that. And that point that you just said about encouraging our children to read speaks directly, especially to young parents. Those of us who have young children who are still in school, and reading should be part of their DNA. So doing it for fun, now that we are all of us at home during COVID-19 period, is great. I have seen Consolata, you have your hand up. I do not want to assume that I can't see you. Consolata Kwanda, kindly give your contribution.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Consolata Kwanda. Some people might know me as Consolata Karomo Kwanda now. The session has been very enlightening to me. Thank you for everybody who shared. I'm a stay-at-home mother and a homeschooler. And one of the things I realized, we have two boys. I've been teaching them since they've never gone to school. And one thing I noted is when you create a habit for children, it's no longer kind of a chore for them to do it. If while they were babies, you read for them, they will be very familiar with books, such that when they're growing, they're always looking for a book to read, even if it's just for fun. Any book that is lying around the house, they'll pick and read. So maybe those are the habits that you can develop in the children. For those of us who have babies, you can read to them and this reading can become a habit for them even as they grow old. The other thing is, one of the things that Reverend mentioned is that he has competition sessions with his children. And I thought you can also have set a time, even with some that are shared, set a time when you can be reading, all of you, a book. And I thought that would encourage the young people. I think that would encourage the young people to read. So those are my contributions. That whatever you want your child to be in the future, create a habit and let the habit be something that will be normal for them as they grow old. Yeah, thank you.
Wow, that's great. That helped these kids to create a habit that will become a normal as they grow. I have picked that, and I am a mother of young adults. Now that you say that, I wish I had inculcated the culture of reading for fun early enough in their lives, because today I have a whole 2 bookshelves full of books that are so, I think they can build you, but they look at me reading and wonder, you have so much time, how can you finish a book that big? So young parents, you have the opportunity now to do this. I can see that Edna, you have your hand up, you want to say something, and as I invite you, I want to note that it's 14:03. This was meant to be a lunchtime session, and I know some of us are probably working. We grabbed our lunch and came to class to listen to Madam Pamela. So I will request you to kindly, if you must leave a comment in the chat forum. Should you want us to continue engaging with you, should you want more information on what Pamela has talked about, we will be happy to share with you. So kindly leave a message on our chat platform, perhaps your phone number or your email, and we shall get in touch with you. Over to you, Edna.
All right, thank you so much, Esther. I'm completely enjoying the resource that is being shared here. So I will not spend too much time. But I wanted to say that I agree with a lot of what has been shared and just add something that many times we sometimes assume maybe all young people or children have the same, is it mental abilities? Because one thing I have also experienced as a mother, also because I'm also a mom. My firstborn is also 21. Pamela, don't be shocked. And my last one is 13. And in dealing with the young people within that age group, I have realized that my kids, their personalities and their mental abilities. One will love reading. Like the last one started reading on his own at 7 years by himself. He would be the one dragging me to a bookstore to buy books. And the first one, of course, on encouragement. And the middle one, really, it has been me spoon feeding the book, even up to this age where he's 18. And having, understood the children and even some of the young people I deal with right now, you come to realize that they have different mental capacities when it comes to reading. And if you just emphasize and insist, you have to read, you could lose them. And so it's important to be able to understand the what they call the learning style of a child, which is usually mostly influenced by their mental capacity or brain capacity or brain type, like the psychologists would say. So it's very important to factor that in, as well as we encourage the reading culture, people to love reading. Some people will enjoy reading as in flip one page to the next, read one line to the next. Some people will enjoy reading from maybe observing maybe a few words and then observe them, try them out. Some will enjoy listening. So I've found YouTube to be a really good resource, even for actually a number of my students. Whenever I give them books to read, I give them the actual textbook, and then I also make sure that I am sure that they will enjoy reading the textbook, YouTube one, and most of them go for the audio books on YouTube. So I think that's the comment I wanted to make. Let's just, open up and say, sometimes students will enjoy studying or learning through various styles, depending on who they are.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Kuni. That was great. Esther,
Pamela, over to you. Maybe you'd like to have some closing remarks, then we can allow you to go back to your afternoon engagements and also others to continue with what it is that we have to do.
Okay. I think my closing remarks, I'm actually just really going to pick them up from the things that we have shared. And I think for me, the bottom line is our brains, the brains that God has given us have a lot of capacity. And I've actually realized that even when you look at small children, those who are between 2 years and 5 years, we are told that they have the capacity to learn up to 7 languages at the very same time, in that time frame. We also realize that when you don't spend a lot of time engaging with your intellect and the things in your mind and the things you need to study, you actually don't engage your brain as much as you should. So I just my closing remarks would be, anything that you're working on, whatever it is that you're engaged in, especially if it is in line with what God has called you to do, if it is in line with your purpose, something that you know you need to do well, read on that subject. Read. And I like what the addition by Dr. Shiroma and Edna, that you may not necessarily have to read a book, like a hard book. You can listen to an e-book, you can listen to some material on YouTube, but create a culture of reading. And this is how you start, really. I mean, you know, we are all at different levels. There are those of us who started reading when you're young, there are those who picked it up when you're in your teenage, there are those who picked it up in your 20s, there are those who are picking it up now, but the most important thing is to create a habit. How do you start? Schedule an hour or 30 minutes into the day where you do something in light of attaining knowledge, where you read a book or you listen to an ebook or you listen to some material on YouTube. And like Connie mentioned, have a day or a time, a day, and you put aside some time and tell your children, let's try some reading, let's try and do something. You need to begin by scheduling it. Make sure that you have some time every single day to read. It's going to be a little bit rough at the beginning, and please don't give up, because it takes a minimum of 6-7 weeks to develop a habit. So just schedule some time, 30 minutes, 1 hour. Don't push yourself too much, and then begin to read with the things that you find easy. Those of us who are already masters at reading, share the habit. Share it with your children, share it with your spouse, share it with the people around you. Those who have mastered the family level, share it with a book. Encourage people to read. I think as we go along in this issue of study, the next time we'll begin to focus on, so now that you have studied, or so now that you're studying, what do you do with that knowledge? What do you do with that information? So I think my closing remarks are: read, build, develop the habit to read. It is very important. And secondly, and also very important, is that whatever it is you learn, put it to action. Because if you do not practice what you learn, if you don't put into action what you study, then guess what? You will lose it. So we not only read just for information, we also read so that you can put into practice the things that we have learned. Thank you very much. It was good to see all of you. Thank you for joining in. And the other challenge is that the next chat that we have next week, ensure that you invite 2 or 3 young people to join in, because we need to make sure that we are reaching out to these very young people, this primary audience, engage them so that we can be able to hear what their challenges are also, and how they would like to, what kind of environment they'd like to have so that they can read better. Thank you so much.
God bless you, Pamela. That was awesome. Thank you for all of us who were able to stay on for that 1 hour. We got apologies and people checking out and running for another engagement, but that was beautiful. As some said, we've never really given it a thought about why study, and I can't wait for the next session where we shall be asking ourselves, so what, now that I have studied? And I look forward to a very interactive session of people saying the so what, but more so, people actually giving testimonies of taking action from today, that they have actually started reading something and setting aside a time to read and grow themselves. So you will allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to allow this session to end. Thank you for sparing your lunch hour. We were not very sure that lunchtime worked for Zoom, but clearly it works. Thank you for your time. God bless you. Let's develop ourselves during this COVID time when we are being forced to stay home. It's goodbye from me. I will try and wave so that we all see each other, just in case you did not know who you're talking to. This is Esther Moshiri from E-Mentoring Africa. God bless you and take care.